The cargo ship fell from the sky like a burning star. Metal screamed as it tore through the atmosphere of the unknown planet. Inside, alarms blared and lights flashed red. The crew ran through corridors, trying to reach the escape pods, but the ship was falling too fast. In the cargo bay, a small boy pressed his face against the window of a storage room. His name was Deho, and he was only 4 years old. His mother had told him to hide here when the alarm started. She said she would come back for him. She promised. The ship hit the ground hard. The impact threw Deho against the wall. Everything went dark. When Deho opened his eyes, everything hurt. Smoke filled the air. Sparks fell from broken wires in the ceiling. He called for his mother, but no one answered. The door to the storage room had bent open from the crash. Through the gap, he could see the cargo bay. Most of it was destroyed. The boy climbed out carefully. His leg hurt, and he had cuts on his arms. Around him, containers had broken open. Supplies were scattered everywhere. He found a datapad on the ground. When he touched it, his mother's face appeared on the screen. It was a recording. "Deho, my sweet boy," his mother's voice said. "If you are seeing this, something has gone wrong. Remember that I love you. Be brave. Someone will come for you." The message ended. Deho clutched the datapad to his chest and started to cry. A sound made him freeze. Something was moving in the wreckage. Something alive. From behind a fallen container, a creature emerged. It was small, about the size of a large cat. It had thick gray and white fur, small round ears, and a long snout. Its claws clicked on the metal floor as it walked. The creature's eyes were black and watchful. Deho had seen this animal before. It lived in a special cage in the cargo bay. His mother had told him it was called a honey badger. It came from Earth, just like them. The ship was taking it to a new colony world. The honey badger looked at Deho. The boy stayed very still. He did not know if the animal was dangerous. But the creature just sniffed the air, then turned and walked toward a hole in the ship's hull. Deho watched it leave. He was alone again. The boy spent the first night inside the broken ship. He found emergency ration bars in one of the containers and ate one. It tasted like cardboard, but his stomach stopped hurting. He wrapped himself in a thermal blanket and tried to sleep. Outside, he heard strange sounds, roars and screams that did not sound like any animal from Earth. When morning came, Deho looked outside. The ship had crashed in a desert. The sand was dark red, and strange rocks jutted up from the ground like broken teeth. The sky was orange instead of blue. 2 suns hung overhead, both smaller than Earth's sun. This was not the colony world they were supposed to reach. This was somewhere else. Somewhere wrong. Deho knew he should stay with the ship. That was what his mother always told him. "If you get lost, stay where you are. We will find you." But he was thirsty. And all the water containers in the cargo bay had broken. He climbed down from the wreckage. The red sand was hot under his feet. In the distance, he saw something that might be water. It looked like a small lake or pond. He started walking toward it. Deho did not see the creature following him. It moved low to the ground, its 6 legs carrying it silently across the sand. It was as long as a car and covered in dark scales. Its mouth had too many teeth, and poison dripped from its fangs. The creature was a hunter. It ruled this part of the desert. Nothing escaped it. And now it had found something small and slow. Easy prey. When Deho was halfway to the water, he heard a hiss behind him. He turned and saw the monster. His heart stopped. The creature's yellow eyes locked onto him. It opened its mouth wide, showing all those terrible teeth. Deho wanted to run, but his legs would not move. He was too scared. The creature took a step closer, then another. Then something small and gray shot past Deho like a bullet. The honey badger slammed into the monster's face with a snarl that sounded like ripping metal. Its claws tore at the creature's eyes and snout. The big predator screamed and tried to shake the badger off, but the small animal held on tight. It bit down on the monster's nose and would not let go. Blood sprayed across the red sand. The monster thrashed and rolled, trying to crush the honey badger, but the badger was too quick. It dodged and attacked again, going for the soft spot under the creature's jaw. The fight lasted only minutes, but it felt longer. Finally, the big creature had enough. It pulled away, bleeding from a dozen wounds, and ran. It disappeared behind the rocks, leaving a trail of dark blood. The honey badger stood in the sand, breathing hard. Its fur was stained with blood, though most of it was not its own. It looked back at Deho with those black eyes. Then it walked past the boy and continued toward the water. Deho's legs finally worked again. He followed the honey badger. He did not understand why the animal had saved him, but he was grateful. When they reached the water, the badger drank first. Then it sat and waited while Deho cupped water in his hands. The water tasted strange, but it was wet and cold. Deho drank until his stomach hurt. On the walk back to the ship, the honey badger stayed close to the boy. When they reached the wreckage, Deho climbed inside and found more ration bars. He opened one and broke it in half. He held out one piece to the honey badger. The animal sniffed it, then took it gently from his hand. That night, Deho did not sleep alone. The honey badger curled up near the storage room entrance, blocking the door. Every time Deho woke up scared, he could see the small creature keeping watch. Outside, other predators moved through the darkness, but none of them came close to the ship. They could smell the honey badger. They could smell the blood of the creature it had beaten, and somewhere in their simple minds, they understood a new truth about this desert. There was a new predator here now. A small one. Yes, but one that did not know how to quit. One that did not know how to run away. The monsters of this world had never met anything like it before. They would learn to stay away. The days blurred together. Deho learned to count them by scratching marks on the ship's hull with a piece of broken metal. Each morning, when the two suns rose, he made a new line. After 7 lines, he made a cross mark. That meant a week. He had made 4 cross marks so far. The honey badger, which Deho now called Baram, left the ship every morning to hunt. At first, Deho worried it would not come back, but Baram always returned, sometimes with strange creatures in its mouth. The animals of this world had hard shells or thick scales. Baram cracked them open and ate the soft parts inside. One day, Baram dragged back something that looked like a purple lizard. It was dead, its neck broken. The badger ate some, then pushed the rest toward Deho. The boy stared at the dead thing. He had only eaten ration bars since the crash. There were still many boxes of them in the cargo bay. But Baram seemed to want him to try the lizard. Deho built a fire using a broken power cell and some dried plants he found near the ship. His mother had taught him about fire safety on the ship. He remembered her voice. Fire is a tool, Deho. Respect it, and it will help you. He cooked the lizard meat on a flat piece of metal. It smelled strange, but when he tasted it, it was not bad. A little chewy, but good. Baram watched him eat, then went back to grooming its own fur. From that day on, they shared meals. The crash site became their home. Deho organized the storage room, stacking containers and creating a sleeping area with thermal blankets. He found a water purifier in one of the emergency kits. It was damaged, but he managed to fix it using parts from other broken devices. Now he could clean the strange water from the pond. Baram made its own space near the entrance, always between Deho and the outside world. At night, Deho talked to the honey badger. He told it about his mother, about Earth, about the stars. Baram would sometimes look at him with those dark eyes, as if listening. Other times, it would fall asleep. Deho did not mind. It felt better to talk than to sit in silence. The predators learned quickly to avoid the crash site. After Baram killed 3 more of the 6-legged hunters and left their bodies in the sand as warnings, the area became quiet. But Deho knew they were still out there, watching from the rocks. One morning, Deho woke up to find Baram digging near the ship. The badger had found a tunnel entrance hidden under the sand. Before Deho could stop it, Baram disappeared inside. The boy waited nervously. He heard sounds from underground. Hissing. Screaming. The sound of things breaking. Then Baram emerged, covered in dirt, and carrying something in its mouth. It dropped a pile of white eggs near Daho's feet, then went back into the tunnel. It made 3 more trips, bringing out more eggs each time. Finally, it came out dragging a dead creature. This one looked like a snake, but it had small legs and a head full of eyes. Its body was as thick as Daho's arm. Bahram had killed it and raided its nest. The eggs were good to eat when cooked. They tasted like the eggs from Earth, but sweeter. Daho and Bahram ate well that day, but not everything was easy. On the 32nd day, Daho woke up feeling hot. His head hurt, and his body ached. When he tried to stand, the room spun around him. He fell back onto his blankets. Shaking, Bahram noticed immediately. The badger came close, sniffing Daho's face and hands. It made a soft sound, almost like a whine. Daho's fever got worse. He drifted in and out of sleep, seeing strange dreams. Sometimes he thought his mother was there, holding his hand. Other times, he dreamed of monsters with too many teeth. Bahram did not leave his side. The badger stayed in the storage room, even though it meant not eating. It licked Daho's face when his fever was highest, trying to cool him down. When the boy shook with cold, despite the heat, Bahram curled up against him. On the 3rd day of the fever, the scavengers came. They smelled sickness. They smelled weakness. 5 of them approached the ship, moving carefully. They were smaller than the 6-legged hunters, but they had sharp beaks and sharper claws. They worked in packs, picking off sick or injured prey. They thought this would be easy. Bahram met them at the entrance to the storage room. The small badger stood alone against 5 predators, each twice its size. The first scavenger lunged. Bahram caught it by the throat and shook hard. Bones cracked. The creature fell, twitching. The others attacked together. They tried to surround the badger, to overwhelm it with numbers. But Bahram was faster. It spun and dodged, its teeth finding flesh every time. When one scavenger bit Bahram's back leg, the badger turned and tore off the creature's beak. The fight was brutal. Blood covered the floor. Bahram took wounds, deep ones, but it did not stop. It could not stop. Behind it, Daho lay helpless. One by one, the scavengers fell. The last one tried to run, but Bahram chased it down and killed it outside the ship. When it was over, Bahram limped back to the storage room. Its fur was matted with blood. It had cuts on its face and legs, but it had won. The badger collapsed next to Daho and closed its eyes. When Daho's fever finally broke on the 4th day, the first thing he saw was Bahram lying beside him. The badger was breathing, but barely. Its wounds were bad, Daho cried. He found the medical kit from the emergency supplies. His hands shook as he cleaned Bahram's wounds the way his mother had taught him to clean cuts. He used the antiseptic spray, even though he knew it was meant for humans. He wrapped bandages around the worst injuries. Bahram opened one eye and looked at him. The badger's tail moved slightly, a small wag. "Thank you," Daho whispered. "Thank you for protecting me." He spent the next days taking care of Bahram the way the badger had taken care of him. He brought water in a small cup and helped Bahram drink. He shared the last of the cooked eggs. He sat beside the badger and told it stories about Earth. Slowly, Bahram got better. The cuts healed. The badger started moving around again. Outside the ship, the desert was different now. The bodies of the scavengers lay scattered in the sand, rotting under the twin suns. Other predators came to investigate. They saw the dead. They smelled the honey badger's scent, and they left. Word spread through the desert in the way that animals understand. This territory belonged to something fierce, something that did not run, something that would fight to the death to protect what was its. The crash site became an island of safety in a sea of danger. Daho made his 40-second mark on the hull when he found something in the ship's computer system. The distress beacon was working. It had been sending signals since the crash. Someone might hear it. Someone might come. He ran to tell Bahram. The badger looked at him with those dark eyes, then went back to eating a crunchy purple beetle. Deho laughed. It was the first time he had laughed since the crash. "Someone is coming for us," he said. "We just have to wait a little longer." Bahram made a huffing sound and rolled onto its back, asking for belly rubs. The boy sat down and scratched the badger's stomach. Outside, the wind blew across the red desert. The twin suns moved across the orange sky, and somewhere far away, faster than light, a signal flew through space, a signal that said, "Survivors here, please help." All they had to do was survive until help arrived. The rescue ship appeared in the sky on day 68. Deho was collecting water from the pond when he heard the sound. It was different from the wind, different from the animal noises he had learned to recognize. This was the sound of engines. He looked up and saw it. A ship, much smaller than the cargo vessel, descending through the orange sky. Hope exploded in his chest. "Bahram," he shouted. "Bahram, they came, they really came." The honey badger emerged from the wreckage and looked up at the sky. Its ears twitched, listening to the engine noise. The rescue ship did not land near the crash site. It touched down about half a mile away, behind a cluster of tall rocks. Deho wanted to run toward it immediately, but Bahram stood in front of him, blocking his path. The badger's body was tense, alert. Deho understood. They did not know who was on that ship yet. They had to be careful. They waited. Soon, figures appeared from behind the rocks. There were 5 of them, moving slowly and carefully. They wore protective suits, and they carried scanners and weapons. 3 of them looked like humans, but different. Their skin was greenish-blue, and they had webbed hands. 2 others were definitely not human. They walked on 4 legs and had bodies covered in hard shells that clicked when they moved. One of the humans raised a hand and waved. She pulled off her helmet. "Hello?" she called out. Her voice carried across the desert. "Is anyone there? We received your distress signal." Deho's heart raced. He recognized the language. Korean. She was speaking Korean. He stood up from behind the rock where he was hiding. "Here. I'm here." The woman's eyes went wide. She said something to the others, then started walking faster toward him. The rest of the team followed. "Stay calm, little one," the woman called. "My name is Yuna. I'm Captain Yuna of the rescue ship. Are you injured? Are you alone?" "I'm okay," Deho said. His voice shook. "My name is Deho. I was on the cargo ship. It crashed." As they got closer, Deho could see Yuna's face more clearly. She had kind eyes and short black hair. She was smiling, but there were tears on her cheeks. "It's going to be okay now," she said. "We're going to take you home." Then she saw Bahram. The honey badger had moved to stand directly in front of Deho. Its body was low to the ground, ready to attack or defend. Its black eyes were locked on the approaching strangers. Yuna stopped walking. She held up a hand to stop the others too. "What is that?" one of the green-skinned people asked. His voice came from a translator device on his suit. "That's a honey badger," Yuna said quietly. "From Earth." "They're..." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "They're known for being extremely aggressive." "It's small," said one of the shell-covered aliens. "Surely it's not dangerous." Yuna did not take her eyes off Bahram. Size doesn't matter with honey badgers. They've been known to fight lions. And win. The alien made a clicking sound that might have been disbelief. Yuna crouched down slowly, making herself smaller. She spoke in Korean again. Her voice soft. "Deho. Is the animal friendly? Has it hurt you?" "No," Deho said quickly. "Bahram protected me. He saved my life. Many times." Yuna blinked. "Bahram? You named it?" "He's my friend." Yuna looked at the honey badger with new understanding. She had heard of the bond between humans and animals, especially earth animals. But seeing it here, on this death world, was something else. "Can you tell Bahram that we're here to help?" she asked gently. Deho put his hand on Bahram's back. The badger's muscles were tight under his fingers, ready to spring. "It's okay," he whispered. "They're friends. They came to take us home." Bahram did not relax. One of the shell-covered aliens moved too quickly, adjusting its scanner. Bahram exploded into motion, rushing forward with a snarl that made everyone jump back. The alien fell backward in surprise. "Don't shoot!" Yuna yelled, as one of the green-skinned crew members raised his weapon. Bahram stopped just short of the alien. Teeth bared. The message was clear. "Do not make sudden movements." "By the stars," the fallen alien whispered. "What kind of creature is this? It should be terrified of us. We're 10 times its size. Earth doesn't produce animals that know fear," Yuna said. "Not like this one. Honey badgers are." She searched for words. "They're stubborn. Fearless. They don't back down from anything." The green-skinned crew member lowered his weapon slowly. "This explains much about humans," he muttered. Deho ran forward and put himself between Bahram and the rescue team. "Please don't hurt him. He was just scared. He's been protecting me from the monsters here." Yuna looked past Deho at the crash site. For the first time, she noticed the bodies. Scattered across the red sand were the remains of creatures. Some were fresh kills, others were just bones now, but there were dozens of them. Maybe more. "Those things," she pointed. "The badger killed all of those?" Deho nodded. "They tried to attack me. Bahram didn't let them." The rescue team stared. One of the greenish aliens walked closer to examine a skull. It belonged to one of the 6-legged hunters. The bone was thick, designed to withstand powerful impacts, but it had been cracked open like an egg. "Captain," the alien said, his voice shaking slightly. "These are Calith predators. We classified this planet as extreme danger level. These creatures are apex predators. They're not supposed to have any natural enemies here." Yuna looked at Bahram. The small badger had returned to Deho's side and was watching the team with suspicious eyes. "They do now," she said quietly. It took 2 hours to convince Deho to come to the rescue ship. He refused to leave without Bahram. Yuna agreed immediately. But the other crew members were nervous. They did not want a dangerous animal on their ship. "It's a child's pet," one of them argued. "We can leave it here. It survived this long alone." Deho started crying. "No, Bahram isn't a pet. He's my family. He's all I have left." Yuna made the decision. "The badger comes with us." That's final. They had to sedate Bahram for the journey to the ship. It took 3 doses before the badger finally slowed down. Even then, it woke up twice during the short walk. Each time, its first action was to look for Deho. Only after seeing the boy safe did it close its eyes again. The shell-covered aliens were fascinated. "Its loyalty is remarkable," one of them said. "We've never seen an animal so devoted to protecting another species." "That's because you've never been to Earth," Yuna replied. On the rescue ship, they gave Deho a medical examination. He was thin and had several healed scars. But overall, he was healthy. The ship's doctor, a human man named Tajin, was amazed. "He survived 68 days on a Class 9 death world," Tajin said, reading the medical results. "At 4 years old, this shouldn't be possible." "He had help," Yuna said, looking through the window at the small habitat where Bahram was resting. The badger was awake now, pacing back and forth, looking for Deho. They let the boy visit. Deho pressed his hands against the habitat's transparent wall. Bahram saw him and rushed over, touching its nose to the glass where Deho's hand was. "I won't let them separate us," Deho promised. "Never." The rescue ship left the planet that night. As they rose into space, Deho watched through the window. Below, the red desert grew smaller. The crash site became a tiny speck, then disappeared completely. He was leaving behind the place where his mother died, the place where he had been so scared and alone. But he was also leaving behind the place where he had learned something important. He had learned that even when everything seemed hopeless, even when you were small and weak and afraid, you could survive. As long as you had someone who refused to give up on you. Bahram pressed against the wall of the habitat, watching Deho with those dark, loyal eyes. And Deho knew that somewhere in the galaxy, people were about to learn the same lesson that the monsters of Calith had learned. Never underestimate the creatures of Earth, especially the small ones, because they don't know how to quit. The medical bay of the rescue ship became Deho's temporary home. The walls were white and clean, so different from the red desert he had known for 2 months. Beside his bed, the crew had placed a special habitat for Bahram. It was made of transparent material, strong enough to contain the honey badger, but clear enough that Deho could always see his friend. Dr. Tajin visited every day to check on both of them. He was a tall man with gray hair and gentle hands. He had been a doctor on colony ships for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "The badger's injuries are remarkable," he told Captain Yuna one morning. Deho was asleep, but Bahram was awake, watching the doctor with suspicious eyes. "It has scars from bites, claws, poison burns. Some of these wounds should have killed it. But it healed and kept fighting." Yuna looked at Bahram through the habitat wall. The badger stared back, unblinking. "Honey badgers have incredibly thick skin," Tajin continued. "Their metabolism can process toxins that would kill most creatures, and their pain tolerance is—" He shook his head. "They can continue fighting with injuries that would incapacitate anything else. Nature's perfect survivor," Yuna said quietly. "More than that, nature's perfect guardian." The story of Deho and Bahram spread fast through the ship. The crew members would visit the medical bay just to see the small boy and his smaller protector. The greenish Veltharian crew members brought Deho treats from their home world. The Cortesh, the shell-covered aliens, brought him small toys and puzzles. Everyone wanted to see the honey badger that had survived a death world. But the story did not stay on the ship for long. When they docked at Nexus Station Alpha, a massive space station that served as a hub for hundreds of species, news crews were waiting. The Veltharian crew member named Sora had sent reports ahead. He was fascinated by the story and wanted to share it with the galaxy. "Human child survives impossible odds," the news headline read. "Rescued from death world after 68 days. But the part that really caught attention was the detail about Bahram. "Protected by Earth creature smaller than a standard cargo container," another headline proclaimed. "Miniature predator defeats beings 20 times its size." Within hours, the story was everywhere. News channels across the galaxy ran features. Scientists wanted interviews. Xenobiologists wanted to study Bahram. Military strategists wanted to understand how such a small creature could be so effective. Deho woke up one morning to find Captain Yuna sitting beside his bed, looking worried. "What's wrong?" he asked. Yuna smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "You're famous, little one. You and Bahram. Everyone in the galaxy wants to meet you. Why? Because you did something remarkable. You survived somewhere you shouldn't have been able to survive. And people want to understand how." Through the window of the medical bay, Deho could see the station outside. There were crowds of different alien species, all holding cameras and recording devices. They were trying to see inside the ship. Security had to block the corridor leading to the medical bay. Too many people wanted to visit. Scientists from the Galactic Research Institute requested permission to examine Bahram. They wanted to run tests, take samples, study the badger's biology. Deho refused. "No," he said firmly when Yuna explained the requests. "They want to hurt Bahram. They say they just want to study him," Yuna said gently. "They promise they won't hurt him." "No," Deho repeated. His voice was stronger now. 2 months of survival had changed him. He was still a child, but there was steel in his words. "Bahram is not a science experiment. He's my friend," the scientists complained. They said it was for the good of galactic knowledge. They said understanding the honey badger could save lives. They offered money, resources, anything. Deho's answer remained the same. No. The Galactic Council got involved. They were a group of leaders from the major species who made decisions for everyone. They wanted to classify Earth animals properly. Until now, Earth had been considered a pleasant but unremarkable world. Humans were known for being adaptable and friendly, but not particularly dangerous. Bahram changed that perspective. "We need to reclassify Earth fauna," one council member said during a broadcast meeting. This honey badger has shown capabilities far beyond its size class. It represents a disproportionate threat level. A Cortesh representative clicked its mandibles nervously. If this is what Earth considers a small predator, what are their large ones like? A human representative smiled. Would you like to learn about grizzly bears? Or maybe saltwater crocodiles? Those are fun. The council members looked uncomfortable. The honey badger received an official threat classification, usually reserved for creatures 300 times its mass. The report included recommendations: do not approach, do not threaten, assume hostile capabilities despite size. When Yuna showed Deho the report, the boy laughed. It felt strange to laugh, but good. They're scared of Baram. They should be, Yuna said. Baram earned their respect. The galaxy's perception of Earth began to shift. News channels ran documentaries about Earth's animals. They showed lions, elephants, hippos. They showed bears and tigers. They showed sharks and eagles. But they kept coming back to the honey badger. The small creature that refused to back down. The creature that protected a human child against impossible odds. Earth is more dangerous than we thought, one popular commentator said. Not because of weapons or technology, but because their planet produces beings that simply do not know when to quit. Deho watched these broadcasts from the medical bay. Baram sat beside him, finally allowed out of the habitat. The badger was grooming itself. Unbothered by all the attention, a message came for Deho. It was broadcast on the station's public network, which meant millions of beings across the galaxy could see it. A news anchor wanted to interview him. Yuna helped him prepare. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, she said, but Deho wanted to. He had something to say. The interview was simple. The anchor, a floating creature made of light, asked gentle questions. How did he survive? Was he scared? What was it like? Deho answered honestly. Yes. He was scared. Yes. He missed his mother. Yes. There were days when he wanted to give up, but Baram never gave up on me, Deho said, looking at the badger sitting beside his chair. So I couldn't give up either. What do you want people to know about Baram? The anchor asked. Deho thought carefully. I want them to know that he didn't save me because I'm special. He saved me because that's what friends do. They protect each other, even when it's hard. Even when it's dangerous. He paused, then added, Baram stays with me. No one takes him away. Ever. The interview ended, but that last statement became the most replayed clip. A 6-year-old child, small and thin, staring into the camera with absolute determination. Baram stays with me. No one takes him away. Ever. The galaxy fell in love with the story. But more importantly, they understood the message. Humans bonded with their animals in ways other species did not. And those bonds were not negotiable. The council stopped requesting to study Baram. The scientists backed off. Even the military strategists withdrew their proposals. One news commentator summed it up perfectly. We wanted to study the honey badger to understand its strength. But we learned something more important. We learned about the strength of the bond between a human child and his guardian. That bond survived a death world. It will survive anything we throw at it. Dr. Tejan released Deho from medical observation after 2 weeks. The boy was healthy, physically recovered. But Tejan had one last conversation with him before he left. You know you're going to be famous for the rest of your life, right? The doctor said. Deho shrugged. I don't care about being famous. I just want to go home. Where is home for you now? Deho looked at Baram, who was exploring the medical bay one last time, sniffing at cabinets and equipment. Wherever Baram is, he said simply. And somewhere in the galaxy, watching the news broadcasts, military planners made notes. Politicians adjusted their views of Earth. Scientists reconsidered their classifications. Earth was no longer just another pleasant world. It was the world that produced creatures like honey badgers, and humans who would die to protect them. 3 years passed like water through fingers. Deho was 9 years old now, taller and stronger. But he still had the same determined eyes. He stood at the viewing window of Captain Yuna's ship, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport. Home. After all this time, he was finally going home. Bahram sat on the bench beside him. Older, too, with more gray in his fur. The honey badger had a slight limp from an old injury, but his eyes were just as sharp and watchful as ever. "Are you nervous?" Yuna asked. She had become Daeho's legal guardian after the rescue. No one could find any surviving family members from the crash. Yuna had offered to take care of him, and Daeho had agreed. She was kind, patient, and most importantly, she never tried to separate him from Bahram. "A little," Daeho admitted. "I don't really remember Earth very well. I was so young when we left." "You'll remember," Yuna said gently. "And Bahram will be happy to see his birthplace again." I was Lokes Bahram without any prom. I was Lokes Bahram without witha. I was Lokes Bahram. The honey badger made a huffing sound and rolled onto his back, asking for belly rubs. Some things never changed. They landed at a small spaceport in Korea. Daeho had received many offers to live in different places across the galaxy. Rich families wanted to adopt him. Governments wanted to give him honors. Universities wanted to study his survival experience. He had turned them all down. Instead, he chose to return to the Korean Wildlife Sanctuary, the place where Bahram had been born. The place where Bahram had been raised before joining the genetic preservation program on the cargo ship. A woman waited for them at the landing pad. She was older, with kind wrinkles around her eyes and hands that were rough from years of working with animals. Her name was Hana, and she had been Bahram's first caretaker. When she saw the honey badger, her eyes filled with tears. "Bahram," she whispered, "you survived. You actually survived." The badger looked at her for a long moment, then waddled over and sniffed her hands. Hana laughed and cried at the same time. "He remembers me." Then, "Haven, he remembers everything," Daeho said. Hana looked at the boy, then at the scars on Bahram's body. The missing patch of fur on his shoulder. The slight limp. "I heard what happened. I heard how he protected you. He saved my life," Daeho said simply. Many times, Hana knelt down so she was eye level with Daeho. "And I heard how you protected him too. How you refused to let anyone take him away or hurt him." Daeho nodded. "We protect each other." The sanctuary was beautiful. It sat in a valley surrounded by mountains, with forests and streams and wide open spaces. Animals from all over Earth lived here, being cared for and protected. Hana led them to a small house on the edge of the sanctuary grounds. "This is yours, if you want it," she said. "You and Bahram can live here. You'll be safe. You'll be home." Daeho looked at the house. It was simple but comfortable. Through the window, he could see the valley and the forests beyond. It was nothing like the red desert of Calith, nothing like the sterile medical bay of the space station, nothing like any of the places he had been since the crash. It looked like peace. "I'll take it," he said. That evening, Hana told Daeho something she had never told anyone before. They sat on the porch of the house while Bahram explored the nearby forest, investigating every smell and sound. "I need to confess something," Hana said. "Bahram wasn't chosen randomly for the preservation program." Daeho looked at her, curious. "When he was young, before we sent him to space, Bahram showed unusual behavior. Most honey badgers are solitary and aggressive to everyone. But Bahram..." She smiled sadly. "Bahram was different. He was protective of the children who visited the sanctuary. If they fell down or got scared, he would stay close to them until they felt better." "So you knew he would protect me?" Daeho asked. "I hoped," Hana said. "When the cargo ship needed an Earth animal for their preservation program, I recommended Bahram specifically. I thought maybe on a colony world, his gentle nature toward humans would be useful." She looked down at her hands. "I never imagined the ship would crash. Never imagined you would need him the way you did. But I'm grateful every day that he was there." Daeho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Thank you for choosing him." "He chose you too," Hana replied. Never forget that. He could have run away on that planet, could have lived on his own, but he stayed. The days turned into weeks, then months. Deho settled into life at the sanctuary. He learned to care for animals, to understand their needs and behaviors. He studied xenobiology through distance learning programs, fascinated by the different species across the galaxy. But his main project was something unique. With Hana's help and support from the Galactic Council, Deho began developing the Guardian program. The idea was simple but revolutionary. Train Earth animals to serve as protectors on colony worlds. Not every colony world is dangerous, Deho explained to the council representatives during a video meeting. But some are. And humans aren't the only species who might need help surviving. If Bahram could protect me, imagine what other Earth animals could do. The council was hesitant at first. But the story of Deho and Bahram had changed the galaxy's perception of Earth. They were willing to try. The first class of the Guardian program started with 12 participants, human volunteers who wanted to work with Earth animals. Each was paired with a different species. There was Jinho with a wolverine, a creature even more aggressive than a honey badger. Mina with a cassowary, a bird that could kick through metal. Salmon with a Cape buffalo, massive and unstoppable, and 6 others, each with their own honey badger, trained and raised at the sanctuary. Deho taught them everything he had learned. Your animal isn't a pet, he told the class. It's a partner. You have to trust each other completely. You protect them, they protect you. Bahram helped with the training. The old badger, now 10 years old, showed the younger honey badgers how to work with humans, how to understand their needs, how to keep them safe. The program became famous. News channels covered the graduation ceremony. Military observers took notes. Other species began requesting similar programs with their own world's animals, but nothing compared to Earth's creatures. As one Cortesh representative said, "Our planet's animals evolved to fit ecological niches. Earth's animals evolved to survive everything the universe could throw at them." 5 years after returning to Earth, Deho stood at a podium on Calith. The Death World had been turned into a memorial site. The crash site remained untouched, preserved exactly as it had been when the rescue team arrived. The bodies of the predators Bahram had killed were gone, turned to dust by time, but their bones remained. A monument had been built nearby. It showed a small boy and a honey badger, side by side, facing the unknown together. Deho was 14 now, nearly grown. Bahram stood beside him, gray around the muzzle but still fierce in spirit. Behind them, the first graduating class of the Guardian program stood at attention with their animal partners. An alien dignitary from the Galactic Council approached the podium. "Deho," he said, "you have experienced something few beings ever do. You have survived the unsurvivable. What is the most important lesson you learned from your time here?" Acton. Deho looked out at the red desert. It was still beautiful in its own harsh way. 2 suns still hung in the orange sky. Somewhere in the rocks, predators still hunted, but this place no longer scared him. He knelt down and put his hand on Bahram's head. The badger leaned into his touch, content. "I learned that Earth doesn't make the biggest predators," Deho said. "We don't make the strongest creatures, or the fastest, or the smartest. But we make survivors. We make beings who form bonds that don't break, no matter what, and we never, ever give up on each other." He stood up and looked at the graduating class behind him. These people and their partners represent what Earth really is. Not a planet of warriors or conquerors. A planet of families, of bonds that last through anything. The honey badger beside him huffed, as if agreeing. "Bahram protected me when I was helpless," Deho continued. "He fought things that should have killed him, just to keep me safe. And now it's my turn to protect him. To make sure the galaxy understands that the creatures of Earth aren't weapons or tools. They're partners, they're family." The alien dignitary nodded slowly. "The galaxy has learned much from your story, Deho. We understand now that Earth's true strength lies not in violence, but in loyalty." As the ceremony ended, Daiho and Bahram walked through the desert one last time. The memorial stood behind them, permanent and unchanging. But they were moving forward, toward the future. Ready to go home? Daiho asked the badger. Bahram looked up at him with those dark, loyal eyes. Then the honey badger started walking toward the ship, limping slightly, moving slower than in his youth, but still fearless. Still determined. Daiho followed, smiling. Behind them, the desert wind blew across the monument. The inscription was simple, carved in 100 languages. No beast dared to attack, not while the honey badger guarded its human child. And below that, in smaller letters, here, a bond was forged that changed the galaxy's understanding of loyalty, courage, and the true meaning of family. The story of Daiho and Bahram became a cornerstone of human galactic relations. It was taught in schools across the stars. It inspired programs on dozens of worlds. It changed how the galaxy saw Earth and its inhabitants. But for Daiho, the story was simpler. It was about a scared little boy who found a friend when he needed one most. It was about a small creature with a huge heart who refused to let that boy die alone. It was about survival, about loyalty, about love that transcends species and understanding. And it was about coming home, together,